A tribute to a 100-year-old Fox Hill legend, our very own Miss Miriam Roker. Miss Miriam Elizabeth Janesta Roker, born November 13th, 1923, in the heart of Fox Hill, was the only child of her parents, the late Mr. Reuben Roker of Burnstown, Fox Hill, and the late Mrs. Margaret Blanche Ramming Roker of Fox Hill, who was, as Miss Roker puts it, born on the parade. Miss Alice Woodside was among her aunts. Miss Roker attended Sandilands all-age school. Among some of her schoolmates were Ronald Bryce, who would just jump over the wall into the schoolyard, Sybil Curtis, Ruby Armbruster, Edmund Smith, and Leroy Jarrett. As a matter of fact, Miss Sybil Curtis celebrated her 100th birthday much earlier this year, and she lives just up and over the hill from Miss Roker. Some of the staff at Sandilands School included Mr. Castell Morrison, Mrs. Ena Bailey, Mr. Poitier, and Mr. D.J. Powell.
This kind of was like Rodney Wells and Mr. Ramin and them.
Yeah.
They had a big job for government.
Oh, right.
At that time, Billy Ramin, Miss Mabel,
Yeah.
And many always sold into the machine. The last place they lived was where they just cooked the food.
Right, yeah, right.
They had a good place on Eastern Road, man.
I remember they
by
said.
the creek.
Yeah, I
That
remember.
was colored people.
Yeah, I remember that.
But when the folks come like pin this and that from the
Fire, ball.
They buy,
Yeah.
See, that was the only one state.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody else sell out.
All them people.
Yeah, everybody else sell in there. Yeah, I like the
And the bell had her double but up all her encourage her
to sell it.
over,
That's the same thing with.
They leave the place and the bell would stay right here.
That's the same with Daddy then.
Daddy something to go in the creek.
To go to the sea and stuff.
Friday evening, most people walk in the creek to go in the sea.
Yes.
Miss Roker was, and still is, a member of the Mount Carey Church in Fox Hill. During the earlier times, Mr. Adley was the pastor, and Mrs. Olive Adley taught Sunday school. The latter, as well as Aunt Bell, often took Miss Roker on outings. Miss Roker was an all-around child. She did so many different things. She'd get firewood, she'd sew, she'd work on the farm. She was a hard worker. There were no post offices back then, Miss Roker reminisced during an interview with me 4 years ago. Mr. Sam Davis collected the mail. I would get the mail from him for the adults who had no children in school. As I passed my house, I would wave to my mother through the window and let her know I was carrying the mail. I would start by Miss Keita Miller, then Miss Blossom Anderson, over to Mr. Taylor, and straight down to Tajidi. Back then, they'd say "tuh." I don't know what that was all about, but they'd say Tajidi. Tajidi lived near the Church of God, opposite Miss Essie's chicken shack. Many times, while running errands for my mother, one of the most important errands was to go to Mr. Mel's shop for 3 cents coffee. My mother liked coffee.
I don't have no bed of roses, but I thank God.
I tell you.
I thank God for my mother. I
tell you.
Every day.
Yes, ma'am.
I went to Nashville to live for a short time. We had these scholarships,
Yeah.
And the college people that only for a season.
Yeah.
one, um, one afternoon, it was a break or something, what Father, oh my Lord,
Hugh?
Townsend.
Oh.
He was a big man in the Baptist.
Oh.
He said, tell the girls then to brush off the books on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But even half hour after that, he came up in the scatter lab and we were brushing it down. When he came down, he said, okay, I guess you want to try me out to see whether you do it.
Right, and how you do it?
Nobody better come to work, don't try me out.
At the age of 14, Miss Roker became a monitor and began teaching at Sunderland School. She taught up until the time Mr. Carlton Francis joined the teaching staff. Miss Roker has done much traveling and even furthered her education abroad, where she made many friends. There were times when she was faced with situations that tested her morals, but she stood strong to her faith and continued making friends and being a proper student. One day, while visiting Miss Roker at her house, I noticed such a beautiful array of floral arrangements from various persons from the community and outside. I turned to Miss Roker. For someone without any children, you are the mother of many. Her reply to this was, I did it the easy way. Among some of her children were the late Paula Tynes and the late Mrs. Fanny Cox. Miss Roker said that every time Mrs. Cox came to her house, there's a particular mirror in her front room. Miss Cox would stand in front of it, spin, turn, and show off. And she'd tell Miss Roker, please, when you go, leave this mirror for me.
I used to teach me.
Uh-huh.
So Bishop was 8 years old, you know.
Yeah.
But when the children going from school, I walk behind to go down the bed to carry her bread.
Okay.
Because the men used to do the baking at that time up there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Then after the Minnie died, Mama took over.
Right.
Miss Roker too carried on a tradition. Each and every Fox Hill Day for many years, Miss Roker would carry on her family tradition of holding a Fox Hill Day luncheon at her house. Everything would be so organized, and Miss Roker would be as busy as a young bee. I should know because I was invited on more than one occasion. There would be people from the community that were relatives and friends, people outside the community, people from all about, and the food was delicious. It was quite enjoyable. Miss Miriam Roker has not just touched the lives of many people, but she has made a positive and lasting impression. She has lived to see many lives begin and end. She has helped to build character, boost morale, and generally be that ear to listen. I was fortunate enough to enroll at L.W. Young Secondary High School during Miss Roker's last year as guidance counselor. Some years ago, my mother was telling Miss Roker about one of her great-great-grandmothers that lived to the ripe old age of 120. When asked if she would like to do the same, Miss Roker said, of course, as long as she has all of her senses and she could still get around. So Miss Roker has lived to see 100 birthdays. That's many birthdays, and may she live to see many more.